I recently was advised that there's an industry in this world that is growing at an exponential rate, and what was very surprising to me is that this company brings in more money per year than any Fortune 500 company, totaling $32 billion a year. With a company this big, it's hard to believe that hardly anyone knows about it. I see many beautiful girls in this room, so I think it's relevant to all of you that you guys know how this company can actually affect you directly. And to all the men in the room, how many of us may be directly funding this company without even knowing. Unfortunately, this company is human trafficking. Slavery may have been abolished in the United States in 1864, but more than 300,000 slaves per year are trafficked through the United States. That's the population of our own city of Jacksonville. That's trafficked through a country like ours without detection. As a matter of fact, there are more slaves today than at any time in recorded history, an estimated 27 million, according to Cheryl Young. According to the Florida Times-Union, at any moment there are 40,000 human trafficking victims in the United States, and their average age is 11 years old. There's no doubt about it that it's an industry with a price tag like $32 billion a year. And it affects so many people that it's hard to believe that people are kept ignorant about it. Interestingly enough, this seems like a problem that people would think of being in the third world or in other parts of the country or anywhere but here. But little may most of you know, it's actually most prevalent in our own state of Florida than in any other state in the United States. According to Mark Wood, a human trafficking contributor at the Florida Department of Trafficking Victims, he states that at any time in the state of Florida, there may be thousands of human trafficking victims, since we hold the #1 gate for the entrance of human trafficking victims into the United States, Miami International Airport. A student who wished her name to be kept private was attending a university right here in the United States, the University of Arizona. And she received a call one Saturday morning from her best friend saying that she was in the neighborhood and would just like to stop by and say hi. So when she pulled up in her driveway, the student walked out just in her pajamas to say hey, and her friend got out of the car and embraced her, and then shoved her into the car where there were two men waiting. They gagged her and taped her eyes shut and brought her to an apartment complex where she was kept in a dog kennel for 40 days, where men repeatedly throughout the day, often 2 or 3 at a time, paid to gang rape her over and over again. Only when one day that her captors left and left one of the windows unlocked was she able to escape. And this is a story according to ABC News. It's hard to believe that something like that would happen here, and it's really important that we go over how this is a growing industry, how it affects all of us, and things that we can do to stop it. It's just a terrible thing, and it can affect anyone that we know. There was a foreign exchange student, according to the Department of Human Trafficking for the United States, who dreamed of studying in America. Her name was Katya, I believe it's pronounced. I believe she was from Russia. And she finally received her student visa, and when she arrived in the United States, she was met by the quote-unquote agency that got her over here. They put her in a van, took her visa, and drove her to Detroit, Michigan, where she was forced to work in an all-nude strip club for a year without any profit to herself. Her captors kept all the money that she made throughout the night. It's just sad to think that this could happen to any girl here in this room. But I want to point this directly to the men in this room who are most likely to participate in something like this. How could you ever be sure that the woman who's doing this in front of you isn't a victim of human trafficking, that her family isn't looking for her, and that you may have, without knowing, directly funded an organization like human trafficking? I'm sure if I asked any one of you, would you like to donate to the cause of human trafficking in persons, I doubt any of you would say yes. But according to a JSO officer, many exploited victims, in most cases, especially with women, are forced to do sexual acts such as prostitution, online pornography, working in strip clubs, and even work on military bases as escorts. Like previously stated, this is an industry that's growing, bringing in more money than any Fortune 500 company, such as GM or even Walmart. It's surprising that something like this could go on right underneath the nose of the law and with seemingly no repercussions. Because in 2006, a Florida Now contributor stated that it was estimated that 17,000 victims were trafficked through the United States that year. But recently, the Florida Department of Human Trafficking in the year 2010 raised the number to over 300,000, which means that either the growth was of 270,000 in 4 years, or we're just starting to realize the enormity of this problem and ways to detect it. The same author stated that if women are not outright kidnapped, they're enticed by advertising and modeling calls such as these. And when these women don't do any background research and they just show up to get their photo shoot, they're just locked in, and there's nothing they can do about it. If more research was done and more knowledge was spread about this problem, I'm sure we could lower the amount of people that fall victims to this just out of ignorance of the issue. So now that we've seen the relevance, and presence of this problem in our society, it's time to start talking about what we can do to change it, starting higher up. A poll was taken of officers right here in Florida, and they were asked the question, do you have concerns about trafficking operations or the potential for these operations in your jurisdiction? And close to 58% said no. Out of these same officers, 90% stated that they knew that human trafficking was a problem and that it went on, but only 40% knew that there were actually federal laws against it, and only 20% knew what those laws were. It's obvious that the police force, probably all over the United States and not just in Florida, are not educated enough on human trafficking and are not able to recognize the signs. As a matter of fact, Cheryl Wood, who is a Change.org contributor, stated that it's estimated around 400 victims within Florida every year try to make contact for help and are not recognized as human trafficking victims. Could you imagine being in such a situation where you can finally ask for help and you're not recognized as a victim of anything and are forced to stay where you are? FCADV.org, which stands for Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence, gives a free PDF file of a handbook on human trafficking that gives you information on what it is, what the statistics look like, what we can do to prevent it, and what signs we can look for human trafficking victims. I think this is very important for everyone to read and to pass around. With the amount of people that go on online sites like Facebook or Twitter, just simply posting this so that your own friends could see could really help save many lives. Even if the victims aren't killed, you could easily imagine that something like this would scar someone for life and have who knows what other effects on them mentally. So just a small step like this could really help. This year in July, there was a walk held by the Florida Times Union right here at the Jacksonville Landing against human trafficking, and only 15 people were in attendance. This just goes to show how many people are just kept in the dark by this topic and haven't been educated. And just think of the walks that we hear all the time for breast cancer awareness or any other cancer awareness. We obviously see that it helps. Why can't we make this work for human trafficking? So as we've seen, it's a huge industry that's just growing exponentially every year. And it's become apparent that only by educating ourselves to the issue can we begin to bring an end to this industry. It could affect any one of us. It can affect your mother, your sister, daughters, nephew, even you. And only by educating ourselves will human trafficking ever come to an end. So I ask all of you to please stand up with me, educate ourselves and others, and let's try to bring an end to this terrible organization. Thank you.